Hey everybody, thanks for watching here. I originally intended to record something on Jerar Encarnacion and Luis Matos on Monday. That game was so bad afterwards that I didn't really feel like staying at the ballpark and talking more about everything that happened that day. And then today we had bigger news. Well, for the future of the organization, I think bigger news, not the current big league lineup. But Bryce Eldridge, he is headed to AAA. He's headed back to AAA technically. He was there for the final week last year. Giants pushed him pretty hard last year and even pushed him into the fall league. And it was a very long season, very successful season. He has followed that up this year, went to AA after an injury in the spring and did everything you could ask for. 147 WRC plus, which is outstanding in any league, especially for a 20-year-old in that league, which is very tough for young hitters. It's a pitcher friendly league. 7 home runs. There were a lot of strikeouts, but look, it's a big guy. You would expect that. I think we're going to see a lot of that early in his career, but the power was there, the patience was there, the approach was there, everything they wanted to see at the plate was there, and they're moving him up to AAA at kind of an interesting time for the River Cats. They're on the road for like 3 weeks, but he will get a chance to get his feet wet and get a chance to prove that he's pretty close to big league ready. And if you go back to the spring and listen to the Giants talk interview that I did with him and read some of the stories from then, he's pretty adamant. Like he's pushing hard to come up this year. And I do think some things have changed lately. We talked to Buster Posey today. He met with the beat writers in the afternoon after the move, and it just reading between the lines. I mean, people who have followed Buster for years and um, seen interviews with him. He doesn't give a whole lot away, but I think there was a slight change just since spring training. Just I think a little more openness to maybe pushing Bryce this year, and that's something I've heard the last couple weeks behind the scenes as well. I think they're a little bit more open than they were. They had hoped that he could fully do the full development year and they wouldn't need him. That was the hope, but I think you're seeing that right now. I mean, they did it again. It's Tuesday night. They did it again tonight. 2 runs. This is the first time since 1965 that they've gone this many consecutive games scoring fewer than 5 runs. And at first base has just been a black hole. They've run different guys out there. Montway Jr.'s had a very rough year. Overall, 27th, 28th in the majors for the Giants in OPS at first base. So there's been no answer there, and I think you were seeing maybe a realization that hey, let's see what he has at AAA. Let's see what Bryce has at AAA, and see if he can be someone who can help in the second half of the season potentially. And even if he just has to DH a little bit, maybe Wilmer Flores gets a little bit more time at first base. They don't want to do that for a full season, but they can do that late in the year if they have to and feel like Bryce is ready to hit at the big league level. So it was interesting, not just the move, the timing of it, but Buster afterwards. I mean, we talked to him and he said a couple times, he said, these things are fluid and we'll see how this goes. And he said they want to get him reps, but said ultimately the thing is to win at the big league level. That's the most important thing. So you can read between the lines a little bit there, and I think they're you know, looking at this a different way than maybe they hoped they would be. And part of that is because of how bad things have been at first base at the big league level and how bad things have been offensively in general. And you have this guy who looks like he's going to hit in the heart of your order for a long time. And it's easy to look at him and look at what he's doing in Double A and wonder, maybe the defense isn't ready, but when can he help at the big league level? As for that defense, that's something we've talked about a lot. Um, Everything I've heard is work in progress. That is what I hear over and over again from Giants people. Bob Melvin said it today. It's a work in progress. I've heard that from people behind the scenes, people who have gone there to work with him. He's doing a ton of work to try to get better at first base, but I think right now they just still don't feel like he's ready for the big leagues. But the benefit of being in AAA, I mean, he will get some extra reps, and he's closer to San Francisco, obviously, once the River Cats get back home and can work with some of the guys who are based at Oracle Park. He can do a lot of work with Ron Wotus, and Will Clark comes through here quite often. He can make the drive up there. So he's worked with Will. He has worked with Joe Panic this season. Worked with JT Snow and Ron Wotus in spring training. They feel like they'll get him there, but it's going to take some time. But I think it's going to be interesting in the next few weeks. That is a very hitter-friendly league, that AAA league is, and he should do a pretty nice job there if he does what he has done everywhere else since he has been drafted. And I think we'll be following that very closely. I know Giants fans will be. Going back to what I said at the beginning, big-ish moves on Mondays. On Monday, at least a notable move, given that this is a team that hasn't made a lot of moves. Jerar Encarnacion finally ready. The first couple games has not looked, like someone who they've been waiting for the last 2 months. I think he looks like someone who has missed 2 months, who didn't get a whole lot of rehab at bats because he did have to halt that rehab assignment. So hasn't been great for him, but look, the bar there to help at first base is very, very low. And you look at right field where he has started the last couple nights. Mike Yastrzemski had a rough May, so he will help them out at some point. The interesting part of that move is Luis Matos, the one being optioned. If people listen to Giants talk, I thought, maybe it made more sense to option one of the middle infielders. But right now, I think they want a lot of Casey Schmidt at first base and let Jerar get his feet wet in the outfield as they get him back here. And I think he really hasn't played a lot of first base in his career. So Casey Schmidt is in that first base mix. Christian Costa, backup infielder. Luis Matos hits a three-run homer on Sunday. Monday, he's gone. But overall, just hasn't hit this season. And that was why they made that decision. They just didn't see any starts for him coming up because Encarnacion's going to start in right field at times, and especially against lefties. And Ramos plays every day, Lee plays every day, so just not really any opportunities for Matos coming up. So they're going to have him play every day and see if he can get going. There's a lot of anger on social media about that move on Monday. I think people also have to be a little bit realistic about where is that. Um, he was excellent when he came up last year, and then it was really rough in the second half. And this year, 570 OPS, 5 for 39 with one walk against lefties. And if he had done anything more than that against lefties, he might still be here because those starts would be there in right field. They don't want Yaz to face lefties. I just think he didn't take advantage of that opportunity and needs to go back and find his groove in AAA. And look, they've been healthy, but they're not going to be this healthy the whole year. So they will need guys who can be everyday guys for them or fill in over the next 4 months. And I think Matos, Bob Melvin said it Monday, said he will 100% be back. But for now, they get Encarnacion back. I think expectations for some are probably a little bit too high. I mean, this is a guy who 13 months ago was playing in Mexico. Giants picked him up there, sent him to AAA. He hit there. He crushed in Mexico. Did a really nice job in Sacramento. And last year, you looked at it, and the overall numbers aren't there, but fourth in exit velocity behind Judge, Otani, and O'Neal Cruz. So that's pretty good company, one spot ahead of Giancarlo Stanton. So when he makes contact, we've seen what he can do. I also think, if you're expecting him to save this lineup, it, I don't know that any one person could right now, but it's not going to be a guy who's a bit more on the journeyman side than the young prospect side. So a lot's been put on him, but he should help and should help a little bit as they try to get out of this, which has been very, very ugly for the last few weeks, and no signs of this slowing down. Buster, he was asked today about that, and he said, "Look, we've looked externally, we've looked internally. As I've talked about a lot on the podcast, there's not a whole lot at AAA right now." And Buster said, "We have kind of looked at some external options, and one thing that has been made very clear to him as president of baseball operations is that." Early June, late May, it's a tough time to try to make a trade. And he said, we're making calls, and you get a sense that teams are like, hey, there's still 2 months till the trade deadline. So everyone's got to be a little bit patient here and hope they figure this out. But I know it's been very hard to watch. So thanks for watching here. Spread the word. I appreciate everyone who has watched here. And hopefully there's more interesting things to break down in the coming days.